All right, what is up, my friends? I'm here with Mjolnir, and we're here to talk about Kaldheim. Kaldheim is here, and almost here. It's getting there. And Wizards of the Coast released a big kind of the expose of the new set. They had a metal band on. It was pretty cool, pretty awesome. Look for that, of course, in the Magic channel. But Kaldheim, you got new Planeswalkers, new cool lands, returning mechanics, old mechanics, and I'm pretty pumped, and you should be too. This set looks really, really cool. This is kind of a world that Wizards really hasn't really gone to yet. Kind of Norse mythology. We've got the 10 realms, 9 realms for Thor fans out there. Well, 10 realms for Kaldheim and different creatures and stuff like that. But I'm more concerned with the magic cards, right? Let's just jump right in. Planeswalkers is where we're going to start with Kaya the Inexorable, which is I think she's supposed to be kind of like the hero of the set, and she has some big important tasks to do. 5 mana, Orzhov Planeswalker. I actually went over this card in a preview article, or not a preview article, kind of first look article on CoolStuffInc.com. Won't go over too much here. Kind of your standard 5 mana, 5 loyalty Planeswalker. It plus to put a ghost form counter on a creature, and if that creature dies, you get to bring it back to your hand and put a spirit token in play. So it kind of like protects your stuff, but like it's, I don't know, it's, they bounce it or something. It has to actually die to do something. It's an okay ability. -3 is Exile Vindicate, which is phenomenal. It's really, really good. And of course, an emblem where you win the game. He has legendary spells, whatever. Kai is fine. Kai is definitely on the bar of Planeswalkers in Core Set 2021, which I think is a good bar of pretty cool role player, not like slam dunk Oko Teferi, play forward this card and crush your opponent with it. Next up, we have Nico Aris, which is a brand new Planeswalker, kind of modeled off Sphinx's Revelation, of course, a card that I like a lot. And Nico costs blue, white X, just like Sphinx's Revelation. Comes into play with X shard tokens, or of course X is the amount of mana you cast, and shards are just like clues. And of course, you know me, I love clues. Tower Striker. And the shards are enchantment tokens with 2, sack this enchantment, scry 1, and then draw. So even better than clues, honestly, because you get to scry as well. Plus ability is up to 1 target creature you control. Can't block this turn. Whenever the creature deals damage this turn, return it to its owner's hand. So kind of a weird ability here where you make your creature unblockable, then it goes back to your hand. So kind of cool with like Reflector Mage and things that come into play abilities, but also cool in your opponent's creatures. Oh, never mind. I misread it. You control. So kind of a weird one, honestly. You can bounce your own stuff and reuse it, kind of like a sort of pseudo flash. Again, I'm seeing all these cards for the first time. This is my first look, so we're going to go through and read them together. -1 is deals 2 damage, targets half creature for each card you've drawn this turn. It's a pretty good removal ability, honestly, similar to Gideon Jura, where you can kill things that have attacked you and so on and so forth. And then -1 to make a shard token, and of course, it's basically just drawing a card for a few mana. Kind of a cool Planeswalker here, very, very flexible. You can cast it on 3 if you really want to, but later in the game, every X you put into this is a card later in the game. You need to have time to use it, but pretty powerful. Also important to note that the shards are enchantments, and Theros is still legal, Constellation is still legal, so putting a few enchantments in play is a powerful effect too. It's kind of a cool, unique card. I like it. It's kind of niche, but does a lot of cool, interesting things. Up next, we have Valki, God of Lies, and this is a Planeswalker you'll see because the flip cards are back. Little Loki action here. Valki on the front side is 2 mana for a 2/1, comes into play, and Kiteseal freebooters your opponent for a creature card, not a non-creature card, so they exiles it until it dies. But you can pay X and choose a creature card exile with Valki and pay the cost, and it becomes a copy of that card. Hello, Euro Titan of Nature's Wrath. Hello, Croxa. How good is Valki against you? Very, very good. So you can steal their Euro, and then pay 3, and it becomes Euro the next turn. You can attack with it. So this curve's insane against Euro. Play Valki on 2, take their Euro, turn 3, pay 3, make it a Euro, attack, gain 3, draw a card, and so on and so forth. So really, really cool against Euro. Kind of a cool card in general. And the flip side is Tibalt, the Cosmic Impostor. Now, this is a modal double-faced card. So this is a card where it doesn't flip on any condition. This is your choice. You can play Valki or you can play Tibalt. Tibalt's a huge Planeswalker. Of course, Tibalt was the joke of Magic for a long time, being the really bad 2 mana Planeswalker. And 7 mana here gives you an emblem. It says you can play cards exile with Tibalt, and you can use mana to cast them as any color. So kind of like the Thief of Sanity effect. And so basically, all the abilities on Tibalt look pretty bad, and so you realize that you can cast them as well. So +2, exile the top card of each player's library. So it's your card and your opponent's card, which is pretty cool. And of course, you can play them. So almost a draw too, although it is play. It's not cast, so you can play lands too, which is actually pretty important. -3, you can exile an artifact or creature, and of course you can play it later on in the game. And then the ultimate looks so bad without the reading the emblem text first. It's exile all cards from all graveyards, add red, red, red. So Tormod's Crypt, Weird Dark Ritual. But of course you can cast all these cards as well too. So kind of a cool card where the front side is playable by itself. I mean, like, if you had a mono black deck, this card is definitely playable. But we also have this kind of cool Planeswalker as well. So pretty cool modal card here. It does a lot of different things. Two very, very different cards, which is good because options are great. Up next, we have the Pathways. So those are your Planeswalkers. There is one other Planeswalker in the set. It's an elf. No information on that one yet. So we'll see that one hopefully at some point soon. But this is what really excites me. It's simple. It's kind of basic. But the Pathway cycle is being completed here. And if you know me, I hate incomplete cycles. Can't stand it when I want to play Rakdos in Standard and we don't have the Pathway yet. Well, there it is. Seer Step Pathway. We get our Golgari Pathway as well. And so Jun's looking a little better now, right? We get Slitherwar Pathway, which is the... And we get the Bar Channel Pathway, which is the Simic Lamb, which is great, too. I'm sure Euro players will love that. And, yeah, I know. And, of course, Hengegate Pathway, the Blue-White Land, which is great. So now the cycle is complete. Mana bases are going to be great in Standard. And I think these lands are perfect for Standard. They're very, very, very good. But they're not dual lands. If you're looking to have a mana base that wants to cast, say, a red creature on turn 1 and then splash a green card, flipping your flip land to green is not free. There have been decks in Standard that are trying to be Rakdos and splashing for Corvold. But the red-green flip land is super awkward because you don't want to have a forest in play in your Croxa deck. So they're very balanced. I think these cards are phenomenal. They're perfect lands for Standard. No shuffling, no life loss, kind of play untapped on turn 1. I just freaking love these lands. I think they're the perfect power level for Standard, and they're just perfect. I think they're just great, and I'm super excited the cycle is finished. I would not be unhappy if these were in every Standard going forward. I know I discussed fast lands being evergreen. I think these are actually better. So, I mean better for the game, not necessarily better as cards, but better overall as lands in Standard. But wait, there's more. It's getting chilly in here. I'm getting really, really cold, and why is that? Snowlands are back, and they look kind of frosty. Honestly, it looks kind of cool here. Snowlands are back in Standard, and of course they're already in Modern and in other formats, but now I get to see them in Standard too. And we saw this, a while back with Cold Snap. Cold Snap didn't go over too well. It wasn't a very good set, but I'm very excited to see where they take the snow mechanic here. I do really, really, really hope that there is some sort of drawback for Snowlands. At this point now, Snowlands are strictly better than regular lands in almost every format. There's basically no reason if you're playing Modern, and you say you're playing Mono Red Burn, to not just play Snow-Covered Mountains, because maybe you're playing Scred, or it just opens up possibilities to your opponent to think about, but there's just no downside. So I really hope there are some cards. I tweeted a card saying this. Maybe it's Hot Cocoa Goblin, where it's 1 red for a 2/1, but if your opponent has a Snowland, it's first strike. Little things like that. Nothing like Armageddon for Snowland. Doesn't need to be that heavy-handed. Just slight rider text on cards that are already fine that make them even better. So you're not just playing Snowlands for no reason at all. That's my one qualm, but Snowlands are back. That's pretty cool. And a new cycle of duels here. This is pretty exciting. We have some tap lands. Now, common tap lands are nothing new. The Ikoria had the gain lands and so on and so forth. These are your tap Snowlands. Now, Cold Snap had these already, but these have land types. So for older formats, these are fetchable, of course. Any card that says, go get a forest out of your deck. Now we have that sort of Farseek effect, or our land can get, our fetching effect can get a forest. That's also a plains, which is really, really cool. So these are going to see good play in Standard. Any sort of snow synergies and stuff like that. Tap lands with land types are almost playable in Standard by themselves anyway. So a lot of upside here. A lot of really cool art. Really like the art of the Sulphurous Mire. Arctic Tree Line looks really cool. Glacial Floodpan. I love it. They're just running out of names. Sulphurous is just the Rakdos land name. And Mire is the Rakdos land name. It's Bloodstained Mire and Sulphurous Spring. Just put them together. But that's pretty funny. So that's that. We got Snowlands, snow cards. We'll see 1 or 2 snow cards later. And what else do we get? We got gods. The gods are back. And Odin's son. So Odin is here, all-ran god of a cosmos, and this is a modal double-face card, just like Tybalt was, where it's a flip card where you just choose one or the other. There's no like actual flipping in gameplay. And all-around god of a cosmos is a 5-mana 1/1. Doesn't sound very good at first, but it gets +1/+1 for each card in your hand or each foretold card you own in exile. More on that later. Beginning of your end step, choose a card type, then reveal the top 2 cards of your library. Put all cards of a chosen type into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in your order. So this thing can draw cards at a pretty decent clip here. You just choose a type and top cards, if it's there, you draw them. Well, if only there was some way to make you be sure of what they were, right? Well, Haka Whispering Raven is here. 2 mana for a 2/3 flyer, which is pretty good. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you bounce it back to your hand and scry 2. So bouncing back seems like a drawback, but back in your hand, you have a choice again to be Allround or Haka. Probably saying his name's horribly wrong, sorry. And then you can play the God of the Cosmos, and then you already know your top 2 cards from scrying, so you can choose them and draw cards. Pretty cool card here. I don't really know what deck wants this card. It's not really like a control card. It's not really like a mid-range or aggro card. I don't really know. I mean, maybe it's kind of mid-rangey, but really cool card here. A lot of really interesting things going on, a lot of options. A 2/3 flyer on defense against an aggro deck is pretty good. So kind of a cool card here. And the showcase frames are back. I'm not huge on like pimped out cards, but these do look pretty cool. Kind of like comic book art and the cool etchings and stuff. Looks cool. I like it. Sagas return as well. Binding of the Old Gods here. Golgari 4 mana. Chapter 1, destroy an online permanent and opponent controls. Obviously very, very good. You kill planeswalkers, creatures, artifacts. Very flexible effect to have. Very, very good. Chapter 2, search your library for a forest card, like one of the forest snowlands perhaps. Put it in tap, shuffle your library. And then Chapter 3, creatures you control get Death Touch until end of turn, I guess. Sure, why not? But this is sort of like Death Sprout done right. That card, Death Sprout from War of a Spark, was really a cool card. Kind of like a 4-mana kill spell, ramp spell. Really hard to cast. It being an instant didn't really matter. Only killed creatures. This is like that card done right. This card's pretty good. And again, don't forget, Theros is legal. So enchantments do matter. Constellation, things like that. Kind of a cool card. And of course, the snow. Well, if snowlands are here, there's probably going to be some snow stuff to do with them. And I'm sure there'll be things with like activated snow abilities, things like that. But there's also Frostbite, a snow instant. And I'm sure things that'll trigger off snow spells being cast, but on face value, snow instant doesn't really mean anything. But 1 red for a shock to a creature or planeswalker. If you control 3 more snow permanents, it's a bolt to a creature or planeswalker. Now, of course, when I first read this card, I thought it was to anything. In which case, this card would be really, really good because shock is already obviously playable. And then having it upgrade to a bolt when you have snow permanents is phenomenal. But it is not that. It's more in line with Scorching Dragonfire, but still a good card. Definitely a good card in standard for sure. And now we got some more new abilities. So those are the old abilities, right? We got, gods and sagas and snow stuff. Well, now I've got 2 new mechanics. The first one is Boast. Now, Boast is a mechanic. It's an activated ability. You can only activate it if this creature, the boasting creature, attack this turn and only once a turn. So let's look at Vargoth, Blood Sky Sire. And legendary creature, Demon Rogue. It's going to go into a party. 3 mana for a 2/3 Death Touch. The Boast ability is 2 mana, and target player gets to Vampiric Tutor. Search the library for a card and put it on top. Kind of an effect that's more good in combo decks than anything else, so kind of weird on a 2/3 creature, but definitely a cool card. I can see this card showing up in older formats where tutoring is important. Very easy to activate. You play it, you attack with it, it's Death Touch, so kind of a cool card. It's not really like a great tutor, it's not really like a great creature, but kind of a cool mixture. It'd be cool to see some sort of a kind of toolbox in like a mono black aggro deck or something like that. Definitely a pretty interesting card here for sure. Being a legend is kind of interesting. Being a rogue is kind of interesting. Kind of a cool card. So that's Boast. And Boast is on a number of cards. Also, that's just like some really, really metal art right there. Looks like a black metal album cover. And kind of cool. Again, I'm probably not going to get the fancy, frames, but they look cool. I respect it. People like it. Pretty cool. Other mechanic here is Foretell. Now, this is sort of like if Morph and Suspend had a baby. And Foretell is a Foretell cost. When you do that, you can put the card face down. It's not a morph. It's not like in play or anything. It's face down, off to the side. Sort of like Yu-Gi-Oh, I guess, like a trap card or something like that. And talking about Yu-Gi-Oh on my Magic stream. And then you can pay its Foretell cost, and you can cast it. Same timing restrictions as it would normally have, so it's a creature, so you can't play it on your opponent's turn. But this is Seralf's Packmate, 4 mana for a 3/3. Comes into play, draw a card, which is like pretty solid, like a pretty good limited common. And like 10 years ago, this card would have been playable and constructed probably. And you can split the cost up, so you can pay 2 on turn 2, and then 2 on turn 3, and there you go, 3/3 draw a card. This card is a lot better than it looks. Being able to distribute your costs is pretty reasonable. And again, the foretell mechanic, maybe it's an instant with some sort of ability, or maybe it's something else cool. And it's also kind of cool because it's out of your hand. So for things that want to count hand size or things like that are kind of cool as well. So that's the Seralf's Packmate. Another foretell card here is a mythic. I think there's going to be 1 foretell mythic for each color. Allrand's Epiphany, 7 mana. You make 2 bird tokens, 1/1 flyers, then take an extra turn, and then exile it. Thank God, because you don't want to be looping it and stuff like that. Foretell cost here is 6, so pay 2, put it aside. Could be a creature, could be anything really. And then you can pay 6, Time Walk, and make 2 tokens. One of the big things about Time Walk is not very good unless you already have things in play. So the fact that it makes things to put in play is pretty good. Kind of a cool card. Not sure if we'll see this in Standard. Everyone's super, got super PTSD from Nexus of Fate. And this is not Nexus of Fate, but kind of a cool card. Happy it's a sorcery. Happy it exiles. Just kind of a cool one. Pretty cool. And we move on from that to some of the more, more some commons in set, uncommons. Inga Rune Eyes, 3 mana for a 3/3, comes up with Scry 3. When it dies, you'll draw 3 if 3 or more creatures died this turn. Kind of a weird death trigger on a blue card. We're going to see a lot of kind of weird stuff, I think, with color bending. There's like frost giants and fire giants. We're going to see some blue giants, elves and humans and dwarves, things like that. Sigrid, God Favored, kind of a super banisher priest here. White 1/1 for a 2/2 with flash and first strike and pro gods. And when it comes into play, you get to exile an attacking or blocking creature until it leaves the battlefield. It's kind of that banisher priest kind of effect. A little similar to Skyclave Apparition, but not really as good. Cole the Forge Master, 2 mana for a dwarf. And dwarf here is making a cool sword. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, if it was enchanted or equipped, it bounces back to your hand. So we've seen these Boros like equipment matters cards so many times. They're just not good almost ever. So I'm not really super interested in this card. Old Growth Troll, green for a 4/4. That's pretty beefy. Kind of the Yorvo school of thought. And it's got tramples. This is a huge boomer here. And Devotion is still legal too. There aren't many good Devotion cards, but it's important when you look at new cards to think about what cards are legal in Standard currently and how they could possibly interact. Wizards loves to do plants and kind of like, have the cards in the new set work well with the old set. Things like the 1-drop Rogue from Core Set 2021, things like that. So 4/4 trample. When it dies, if it was a creature, comes back to the battlefield as an aura with Enchant Forest, and it says Enchanted Forest has tap, add green, and pay 1, sacrifice this land, make a 4/4 with trample. It is tapped though. This card's pretty freaking good. So you have a 4/4 trample for 3, which is already good, and then it dies. You get an Ancient Tomb, and then when you're flooded, you can make it into a 4/4 again. This card's really good. Really, really good. Just huge on rate. Troll Warrior. We're not getting trolled here. Masked Vandal. So Shapeshifter's back, or Changeling, I should say. A mechanic from Lorwyn. Kind of a surprise here. Like, oh, Changeling's back, I guess. Okay. 2 mana for a 1/3 Changeling, so it's a goblin, which we like, of course. And it's also an elf and a merfolk and everything else. When it comes into play, you can exile a creature card from your graveyard. If you do, exile target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. This card's real good. I mean, like, we can matron for this card in Modern, and there's almost always going to be a creature in the graveyard, so it's just like a super disenchant. This card is real good. It's going to see a lot of play in Pauper, in various tribal decks in various formats. Pretty exciting common as far as shapeshifters go. Speaking of tribal decks, Elvish Warmaster is an elf theme, as you saw the graphic earlier on with the creature types, and 2 mana for a 2/2, which is obviously fine. Whenever 1 or more elves enters the battlefield under your control, or other elves, doesn't count itself, make a 1/1 elf warrior creature token. Only once a turn, so you can't like go nuts at this, but still pretty powerful. Sort of like the young Pyromancer school here, and obviously going really wide with elves is important. Other formats. Then 7 mana, +2/+2, and Death Touch. So not trample, which is pretty big. This is not an overrun. Typically elf decks, put a bunch of stuff in play. It's activate Azuri, attack for 1,000,000. No trample here, and Death Touch is relevant, but definitely a solid 2-drop, kind of the Young Pyromancer thing. The 7-mana ability is a little more of like a flavor text, but pretty cool. And that's kind of it. That's what we got so far. Very, very exciting stream from wait. What the hell is that? Phyrexian text. We've seen this text before on Elishnorn. What do we have here? We have Vorinclex. I can't say it, but I know it's a legend that's popular in Magic. Monsters Raider, 6 mana, Mythic, 6/6 Trample Haste. Timeout. Why are all the good haste cards green? Why does green get to do literally freaking everything? What's the best haste creature in Standard? Is it red? No. It's Questing Beast. It's green. Why is green draw cards, get haste things, disenchants, can fight things? It just does literally everything. You gotta chill, Watsy. Chill on the green stuff, all right? So 6/6 Trample Haste for 6, which is already like not bad. If you put 1 or more counters on a permanent or a player, put twice that many of each counter instead. So sort of like a super hardened scales. If an opponent would put 1 or more counters on a permanent or player, they put half as many rounded down. So if it's 1, it's going to be 0. So kind of a cool card. Feels like more of a commander card, but a 6/6 Trample Haste is not like, you know, anything you really sniff at, sneeze at. But kind of a cool card, really cool art. And then the implication here is also very exciting that there are Phyrexians on Kaldheim, as if your Vikings weren't enough. And this is some pretty gnarly art too. This dude needs to chill. For sure. And that's it. So Kaldheim, our first look. Of course, look for me in the next few weeks. A lot of cool content. Of course, I'll have my 10 new brews for the early access event. I don't have the date for that on hand right now. I probably should, but I'm sure it's going to be mid to late month. The early access day where I'll be playing my 10 new brews as usual. Look for that article on coolstuffinc.com where I go over all my decks. Look for me on stream. Look for videos. 10 new brews showcasing all the new Kaldheim cards. I'll have my own personal card preview on the 14th. That'll be on my YouTube and my Twitch. Look for that as well. Actually, I have 3 cards to preview. And which is pretty cool. And of course, look for me on all my content. If you're for the first time here, my name's Jim Davis. Welcome. I do videos for CoolStuffInc.com. I do articles for CoolStuffInc.com. I do videos here on YouTube. I stream on Twitch. Full-time content creator. Full-time. Try to do a video every day. Try to do a few streams a week. I love y'all. Y'all are great. All right. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe. Hit all the buttons. I'm hyped for Kaldheim. You should be too. So for me and Mjolnir, I caught it. Would have sucked if I didn't catch that. I have to do the whole video over again. Thanks, folks. See you soon.